how does someone start making the right moves in 2025? I feel like most people nowadays are kind of concerned about what they should get into, what business, but like as an entrepreneur, also as well as an ex-banker, what's the best money move you would say to make nowadays for the new year?
So I'll tell you what's actually funny is this is a very unpopular answer. The popular answer would be, let's get into crypto, let's get into this, buy that. Historically, young people stay poor because they focus so heavily on what's my next move this year instead of where do I want to end up in 10 years and what moves do I need to make this year to get on that path. Like in my generation, because I'm 40 fucking years old, like we knew that it took 10 years to get successful, etc. But these fucking kids, they see on the internet that other people getting rich like in 10 minutes, right? Oh yeah, I gambled on crypto, I made money. So their expectation of getting rich has changed significantly. So can you make some gamble moves like buy some XRP, buy some Dogecoin, whatever fuck you're buying these days and make some money? Sure. Should you be doing that? Sure, you can jump on these trends too, but historically, you should also have a really good financial 10-year plan, which is who the fuck do I want to become in 10 years? And what are some of the things I want to be or be doing in 10 years? You know, and I think if you think that way, then typically whatever you do this year, you're going to do more of that shit next year. And you're not going to ask the same question again next year or be back at square one, right? But it's not a popular answer because the answer is not, if you do this, then in 6 months, you're going to be on this show talking about how you got really rich and everybody knows you. But it's just this misunderstanding. So I think right this year, there's a couple of things people need to pay attention to, which is there's a serious financial shift coming in the economy. I don't know what it is yet, but I know around April, I think we're going to start seeing some very different financial policies. So like I've been following what's going on around the world and I think that that's coming. So what do you do for that? So I think whenever we have financial shifts, I've always been an asset person. So I'm always like, if you own real estate, if you own cars, if you own watches, if you own things that basically move value or hedge inflation or things like that, you're going to do better than people that have nothing. So historically, it's easy for me to also be here and be like, buy Ferraris, buy $10 million houses. But people are watching this like, where the fuck am I going to get money to do that?
Got to start somewhere.
Right. So it's not really fucking productive that someone's going to be able to do that or not. But I think there's a financial shift coming, and I think there's going to be a burst of mini opportunities in the crypto scene that people need to pay attention to. I think if you haven't played in crypto, regardless that you're a gambler or long-term investor or not, you need to start paying attention to that because I think that this administration is going to focus on that despite it being correct or not or whatever people believe. So I think there is a point there to pay attention to that scene because there's going to be huge gambles people can take to advance themselves financially, even if it's short-term money that can help them finance a new business or something they want to really do. So I think that's going to be a focus point. Asset acquisition is a huge thing for me this year. I'm putting a lot of money, like a couple of $1 million into acquiring more assets, real estate, cars, watches, as much as I can, because transitionary kind of inflation and also just looking at currency exchanges like we're talking about could potentially happen in April, could cause asset pricing to go up. And the cost of entry has been nonstop going up in America for the last 4 years, right? So people are priced out of homes. And if they're looking at this from a financial lens, I'm going to tell you something that basically people are starting to talk about, but it is really has been kind of an assassination. And it's the assassination of the middle class. That shit has been killed, like to a degree where it's very sad because I came to this country as an immigrant. And then as an immigrant, we had the middle class to help us, right? Raise ourselves to this next level. You start in poverty and you move up. And when you remove the middle class, you basically take the participation away from people that could get to the wealth class. But you're saying you can't afford to buy a home, like because you just can't enter because the pricing of homes is too much. And you're forcing people out of certain areas that are popular, again, pushing the middle class out to states that are not going to have as much growth and things like that, so because they can afford to live there, right? The cost of better education for their kids, you know, is basically going astronomically higher again. So there's been this thing going on in this country for the last 4 years that basically all of the industrial societal values we've basically been raised on over the last 30 years
are going away.
They're getting shattered. I mean, they're like non-existent, right? Like institutions are buying real estate instead of people. You know,
rock.
Yeah, and they're completely fucking the the system up. But this is why you have such a divided country, generally speaking, and this is what's happening. But it's a transitionary period that unfortunately this generation is going to have to deal with. Like some generations sometimes have bad periods financially.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Listen, man, the question most people ask is, what's my purpose? Obviously, they want to make it in life. I know you said before, middle class is almost like pretty much like dead.
Yeah.
So they're starting from ground zero. Either they're getting into school or want to start a business on the side or work for somebody right now. Now, myself, like I said earlier, against America 10 years ago, I was trying to find a way to be successful. I worked at AT&T and Chick-fil-A, trying to find a way. Obviously, things took a turn 5 years later. Now we're here on the podcast. But it wasn't luck. It was more like finding things I could do to improve my lifestyle, improve my mindset and business, and of course, find a mentor like yourself. So I guess the question is, in your own way, how does someone find their purpose, if at all?
So purpose is also a progressive game. Again, it's not okay, I'm going to figure it out. It's divine sent. Someone's going to tell me immediately, what can I do to become exactly who I'm supposed to become? And then I'm going to do that the rest of my life.
Right.
It's progressive. So as young people watch this again, it's not something you can say, well, by you telling me this, I'm immediately going to find out what I'm going to do, right? So let's start with what is right one step before purpose, okay? And that's being purposeful. So let's focus on something easier for people. Instead of saying, go straight to the top and figure out what you want to do for the rest of your life, start thinking about, what did I choose to do right now? And how do I change my mindset from a person that is forced to do something to choosing what I want to do? If you chose your job and you like it, get really good at it. Be purposeful in your job. If you chose your relationship, be purposeful in that relationship, right? If you don't, then let's go one step backward again and look at choice. Choosing the job I have. What is my 10-year plan? How does this job right now, even though it's not my final job, help me get there? Most of us want financial independence, and we need some level of financial independence before we can be free and focus on what we want to focus. There's a famous quote that says, you have to do what you need to do before you do what you want to do, right? Yeah. So what you need to do is figure out how to earn financial independence, which means that whatever career path you choose, you have to ask yourself, does this align with the level of financial freedom I want to have in my life? I worked a banking job and I looked 10 years ahead and I said, I was the fastest growing banker in America. I kept getting promoted every 6 months, kept killing it. I love my job. I drank the Kool-Aid. I was that guy. I thought I would be a CEO of a bank 20 years later, right? But one day I stopped. I was driving a Lamborghini literally while I was in a corporate America job. And back then it was a big deal because...
How did people treat you being younger with a Lamborghini?
They hated me. Like I've always been hated. I've learned to live with that. It doesn't matter, right? I drove a bright orange Lamborghini and I would literally park on the handicap zone. And that's one of the reasons I got fired, because I was an asshole. Yeah. But I used to park this car. And then one day I look around and I'm trying to convince everybody that they don't understand how these cars work and they should buy Lamborghini too. And all of these VPs are looking at me and they're like, what is he talking? Like, why would I want a Lamborghini? How can I even afford one, right? But I'm sitting there and I'm like, I'm trying to convert 10 people who drive black sedans to work every day and are happy with their mediocre fucking life to want a great life. And I realized, I'm like, I'm not the fit here. There's nothing wrong with them. They want this shit. I don't want this shit. So I thought about it and I said, if I work my ass off, and I'm a brown fucking guy, so I wasn't going to make it to CEO or anything.
What's your background?
I'm Persian. So as a Persian guy, I was like, they're not going to fucking make me CEO. I was like, he ain't going to make me a fucking CEO, so it's not going to work. But in my head, I was like, I'm the fastest growing guy. Imagine what I've done by the age of 23. Imagine where I can go by like 50. But in my head, I'm like, what if I'm 50 and I get exactly what I fucking want? What if I'm the CEO of this bank and it actually happens? Would I have the financial success that I want? And would I be the person that I want to be? And the answer was fucking no. So it was like, even if I win at the game I'm playing, I'm going to lose. So why am I playing this game? And so I had to figure out that I don't want to be in this game. So I had to get out and figure out a new game to play.
Do you believe that most people, or some people, are just made to just work a job for somebody else? Like, they shouldn't be entrepreneurs?
No.
I think that, like, we all have a choice to make, but people just kind of, like, settle down into that lifestyle. You know what? This is it for me.
So, no, because people also have to understand that they can't start at the top. And being an entrepreneur is a progression of having skills and bringing creation to the world. So the way this works is if you're unskilled, you came to this country, you don't know shit, you don't know how things work.
Nothing.
You work places to gain skills and understand how the system works. And a lot of times, I'm sorry, but even on shows like this, we counteract this thought that the Matrix is evil and that the Matrix is there to keep you kind of like stuck and you can't do better or whatever, and this is what they're there for. The Matrix is a system of structure that basically teaches you how to belong to something, to a society, how to act, etc. It's not structure so you can thrive, it's structure so you can survive. It's your job to figure out how the game is played by playing the smaller games and then evolving past it.
Yeah.
But people get stuck in it because they get comfortable with it and they take on debt and they're like, oh, I had some success early on. I bought a lot of stuff and then now I owe a lot of people and I don't know what the fuck to do. So the real game is figuring out that being an entrepreneur is an evolutionary state of figuring out you're part of the system. And then you realize, there's other people building things in the system so that other people participate. So how can I elevate myself past the system? That's what I talk about in my book, Third Circle Theory. Like the evolution of a human comes in 3 stages: self-awareness, and consciousness. The self-awareness stage is where identity comes in play and where a person or human being can take their identity and say, how can I turn myself from participating in the matrix to creating for the matrix? And so when they take that leap, that usually comes like after you've mastered a bunch of shit. But kids these days, they're like, watch too much fucking TV, and they're all like thinking they're going to be the exception, the Zuckerberg, and I'm going to fucking build this shit and make $1 billion.
A top streamer right away
right,
off the bat.
Exactly. Yeah. And like I've been on YouTube for like 10 fucking years. I watched my first YouTube videos and I'm like, what the fuck was that? Like, holy shit. I'm retarded, right?
Mine are terrible.
Yeah, exactly. But you know the difference is we fucking did something.
Yeah, we tried.
We tried and we sucked, but we didn't suck for the moment. We sucked for our moment, right? And then we got better.
Yep.
And we weren't focused on, I want to be a YouTube creator. We were trying to share a message on YouTube, and practice got us better at becoming better YouTubers, right?
Yep.
And we actually took a very different path, me and you, because you went down the path, we were talking about this earlier, the path of popularity, like, and getting known on YouTube and stuff. And I took a very different path where I said, I don't give a shit about being popular. I want to build real fucking businesses over time, and I want to use YouTube as an engine of business.
Yes.
And that's something a lot of people don't do because it takes a lot longer to do. It's easier to become relevant faster.
And go viral, yep.
Yeah, viral, and focus on that and new content all the time. And I didn't care for that. I was like, I don't give a shit if I'm famous or not. What I care about the most is if I can drive serious fucking money in business. And so I built businesses, and then I used a social engine to basically fuel kind of people knowing about these businesses, not so much about my next trick as a circus monkey,
I think for a lot of people, what you're saying is kind of like inner work has to be done, and you have to have a drive where you're pushing towards becoming better versus the actual cherry on top. Like you're not running towards like the Lamborghini. You're running towards becoming better as a person and individual learning skills until you get to that point where you can actually see what's happening in real time with the game.
Right. The Lamborghini is the byproduct of your expertise in something. Yeah. Like I always tell people, even plumbers get on Lamborghinis. They just have to be really good fucking plumbers. They're going to have a good plumbing business and make a ton of money.
Yeah.
But people don't think that way. They go, how do I get to the Lamborghini faster? Right. And that's the trap. And that's the trap that makes you repeat the same shit every year because you're back at zero again. Because you're like, I ran, I got hurt, I came back, now I'm back on the bench. I'm running again next year. I'm hurt. This time I made it 6 months. And you're back in the same loops over and over and over, trying to figure out your next fucking trick. Instead of realizing that if you stuck yourself to the same trick and got really fucking good at it, eventually it would pay off enough to basically get you to your goal.
Yep.
But most people say, well, if every year I'm not making more money, I'm basically like losing. And there's a lot of truth to sometimes you work. Like I worked 5 years for free on the internet just because I was like, I don't know the internet. So instead of expecting the internet to pay me, I was like, hey, I'm just working to get better at this. And then I was like, I cracked the code. So suddenly after year 5, I went from, hey, I'm making 40 grand a year on the internet, right? To suddenly like I made $1 million on the internet. It's like, holy shit,